Hello, hello everyone. Bethany here. Sparky just didn't show up. It's awful. No, I'm just kidding. But he can't be here today. So I'm going to be doing episode number 82 solo of Ask a Puppy Trainer Show. We've got a few questions today. I think we're a little slow after the holiday weekend. So feel free to put your puppy questions in the comments. I'll lean up and I will read them, okay? So let's get started. Just a reminder of how you can ask questions is you can go on Instagram, you can DM us. So TikTokers, you can hop on Instagram, direct message us, and we also do prompts on Instagram stories. We just really need the age and the breed of your dog, okay? So when you ask questions. This is my German Shepherd, Dakota. She's a little older than a puppy. But since it's just me today, I'm snagging an easier dog than holding one of the wily puppies. Okay, let's get started. I'm gonna start with a quote. Are you done? Okay, bye. All right. I'm going to start with Oh My Lanta, which is super cute. She asked a really good question. She goes, do you guys ever have sales or discounts? I'd really like you guys to train my puppy, but price-wise, it's just not in the budget right now. I completely understand. What I would suggest is that you check out our online school. It's all of the same information. We do a huge amount of very specific training for scenarios, even in the outside world. So you get your foundation, you get all your, we call them classes, you get all your classes, your homework, and then we have another separate set of videos that is for the real world scenarios. So you're gonna benefit a lot from that. Just head to thepuppyacademy.com and click on the online school. And I swear, I didn't just make that up to do a shameless plug. It's an actual question. I swear, not a shameless plug. Okay, Cassie Capel says, your thoughts on e-collars. E-collars, I think, are a great communication tool. They just have to be taught properly. And that's where it gets tough, it's what is properly. So we don't do them with puppies, we'll do them with adolescent dogs, but for recall, it's a really precise instrumental tool. So in my personal opinion, you can spend hours and hours researching online how to do it yourself or get a professional, but it is not something that you put on a dog. We've had questions about the fence, the underground fences before. We've had questions on that, and it's kind of the same thing. I would never put in an underground fence and then an electronic collar and a few flags and expect my dog to just get it. I mean, maybe they will if they're sensitive enough, but it can cause a lot of confusion. You have to still train those things, even in its most simplest form. So please keep that in mind. Okay, I've got a TikTok question from Casey Evans. My Jack Russell, 4 years old, Jack Russell Patterdale, 4 years old, has started being aggressive out of nowhere towards my 10-month-old. That's why we're answering this question, because there's a 10-month-old in it. For the first time against my Staffy Jack 10-month-old. What should I do? Help. Well, I don't have enough context to dive into the why maybe that this is happening. I could definitely use a little more. I would just say that started being aggressive out of nowhere for the first time against my Staffy. This is always a hard thing for me to say, but it's true. I know you didn't mean it this way probably, but it's never out of nowhere. Never. And I'll give you an example. I have an older border collie. He happens to be right there. And then I've got Dakota, who's like 4 or 5 over there. There are times when Dakota gets to be too much, my German Shepherd, and he's a pretty passive dog, my elderly dog. So what he'll do is his eyes will get kind of big and he'll do the passive look away, and his body will get very stiff. All right? And he's telling Dakota, calm down. If that keeps happening over and over and over again, and Dakota isn't listening to his subtle body language cue, then eventually he's gonna snap. And then eventually that might become a habit. And if she just does something he doesn't like, he'll launch himself across the room to tell her to stop. Now that's not happened. He's too low key for that. But a lot of dogs, that's how it starts. And honestly, your Staffy, your 10-month-old, is reaching adolescence. There could be a bit of a hierarchy issue, like just a pack situation happening that you don't totally see or get, things like that. That could very likely be something that's going on as well. So what I want you to watch for is two things. One is, when does your Jack Russell, also Jack Russells are known for not getting along with other dogs. When does your Jack Russell, like they can be in a pack and then they also fight within the pack. When does your Jack Russell look annoyed or overwhelmed or hyper-focused? So I guess there's three things: annoyed, overwhelmed, or hyper-focused. So annoyed is more like mild. They're just like, I kind of pick on you to play with you, and then you play with me and I don't really like it, so back off. So I'm just a little annoyed. But it's confusing because sometimes that dog might interact with your Staffy. So you're like, why is he interacting with the Staffy if he's annoyed? Well, they're animals. That's what they do. They go back and forth. So keep that in mind. You could still be annoyed and bothering your Staffy. Two is, what was two? Two is overwhelmed. So if your Staffy, 10-month-old, potentially a little bit wild of a dog, not even towards your Jack Russell, but does he jump on you? Does he run around you in circles? Does he run around the house? Things like that. It's very possible your older Jack Russell doesn't like that. Okay, and so that could even be overwhelming for him as well, or physically overwhelming. So I think a misconception is that a dog will always attack another dog or react to another dog when they're overwhelmed. Nope. Sometimes they just take it and they deal with it, and they load slowly and they build a grudge. And so what could be happening is he gets a little overwhelmed sometimes and he just kind of takes it all in, but then he kind of looks at the dog and he's just like waiting for his moment. Now that your Staffy is a 10-month-old, now it's at its peak, right? It's very, very common. Got to remember, hormones raging. Not with the Jack Russell, but he knows that they're raging with the Staffy. So he's very likely like, you need to chill out. And then the other thing is just being, just in the home itself, I want you to look for the third one, which is arousal. So anytime your older Jack Russell is just like, what are you doing over there? Towards the Staffy, you need to interrupt that. Hey, none of your business. It's none of your business what he's doing over there. You need to stand up. You need to be a bigger presence in your home. And by stand up, I don't just mean metaphorically. I mean, it's like, if these two, I've got two dogs on either side here. If these two are hanging out and then maybe Dakota gets up and starts getting excited or has a toy or something like that, and Dusty, my border collie, is like, what are you doing? And there's like a little bit of stiffness behind it. I'm like, hey, facing my border collie, just facing him, telling him to, no, chill out. It's none of your business. But then maybe I also need to chill out my Staffy. You know, that can be part of it. How much control does your older Jack Russell see that you have in your home? Because if you can't control your Staffy, if you can't let your Staffy have a toy and then tell him to drop it and stop and go lay down immediately, your older dog sees that. And he's like, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. So anyway, there could be many reasons. So if I've sounded confusing to anyone, I apologize. I am trying to highlight some of the most common reasons we see fights happen among dogs, and it's very, very common that it starts to happen when one of them becomes an adolescent. What will become really tough is when your Staffy has had it and starts attacking your older dog as well. So this has got to, you need to get some one-on-one help immediately. And in the meantime, I would not have your older Jack Russell out with your Staffy when they're not on a leash. So that way you are always practicing controlling their energy when they're out together. You got to start practicing leadership. Do you guys know that the main thing that practicing leadership means is providing guidance? strong, clear, clean guidance. That's what a big part of practicing leadership means. It doesn't mean just standing up and being in control. Hey, knock it off, guys. Listen to me. I'm in charge. No. That is not leadership. That's like, if you only had that one part, that's toxic. You need a lot of other parts to be a leader. So when you hear us talk about leadership, so much of it, I don't want to say 90%, but it's a huge amount, is guidance. Guidance with the leash, managing energy, teaching them an on-off switch. Unfortunately, your two dogs just aren't clicking. They just aren't. You may never know exactly why, but it is not working. I mean, I can just look at the breed mix that you've got, and I kind of understand why, to be honest. Those aren't exactly the two, types of dogs that might just mesh beautifully. But I just want you to keep that in mind, and you're probably going to need some one-on-one help. Okay, let's move on, because I could talk about that. Whew, I could do a whole book on that. I should one day. Okay, Nikki Jurek, 10.5-week-old Corgi puppy. He's doing great with no accidents in the crate at night. I put him in bed about 8:39 p.m., let him out overnight at 2 a.m. Good. Wake him up and potty at 6 a.m. Okay. How do I transition him to go through the whole night without a potty break? Is it too soon? It is not too soon, I don't think. Corgis are technically a smaller breed puppy, so sometimes you can struggle a little bit more because of that. But no, I would say go ahead and skip your middle nighttime potty time, especially if you're waking them up, and do a 4:30, 5 a.m. I would do that for 4, 5, 6 days. Maybe I could make it 6 days. And then I would go ahead and jump to 6 a.m. and just see what happens. That's really how you learn, is you try to slowly adjust, and then you try something, see if it worked. If it doesn't, you might not need to go all the way back to where you were before, but you're just making little tweaks, right? Okay. All right, guys, does anybody have any questions in the comments?
One came through.
On Instagram? All right.
I'm scared to touch it. They're asking how to prevent their puppy from stealing their cat's poop from the litter box.
How to prevent their puppy from stealing their cat's poop from the litter box. Okay. This was a question that came in on the feed. Send me more questions. Otherwise, I'm going to go. So you got to send me more if you want some answers. Okay. Puppy litter box. You're not going to like this answer. So much of training a puppy is a lot like raising kids. You want to prevent them from being exposed to certain things too soon, right? Now, I'm not saying they can never handle, you could never work on them handling being around the cat litter box, but it's the same thing if I've got a 4-month-old puppy that learns to run into the bathroom to steal the roll of toilet paper. You're gonna have to close that bathroom door, or you're gonna have to move the toilet paper. Now, I know that seems like a cop-out answer, but I promise you it's not. Once they get that reward, it's like getting a cupcake on the countertop. They are too young to really, truly rationalize, in my opinion, any form of a no that would last a really long time. Puppies test and push through and things like that. Plus, personally, I don't feel like puppies have enough context at a really young age to be able to understand a no in a way that would resonate with them with you not around. Because then they're looking, they're like, I know the box is back there. I'm not supposed to, I got in trouble last time. Oh, but there's no one around. They don't rationalize, but they do risk assessment, okay? Because that's part of their survival instincts. So they don't rationalize in the way that I said that out loud, but they have risk assessment from survival skills. So they're like, okay, I got in trouble when mom was in the room. Mom's not in the room. I'm going to sneak and see if anything happens to me if I go get that poop. So that will happen over and over and over again. So it's so much about preventative. You can't give a puppy access to trash cans, socks. Socks are a hard one, I know, but it's that, or trip to the vet 3-4 times, which happens to people. kitty litter, food sitting out all day. You couldn't just give them all the food in the world. A lot of puppies eat themselves sick. So that's what I'm trying to say. There are certain things that you're going to have limits on, doors closed, and there's just no way around it. How we do our puppy program is we don't give puppies that much freedom in the first place. So what I mean by, and you don't have to follow our program, but I'm just telling you, a puppy that's free should be in an area that is fully puppy proofed. I hope that makes sense. Just like a toddler. You probably wouldn't give your toddler access to where that is, because they might go and pick up poo and walk around and think it's hilarious, which is really bad. So I want you to think of it that way. We do crate, play, train rotation with a little bit of free time in a playpen or designated space that's been puppy proofed. Okay? Did you happen to catch that last question?
There's one on here and there's one on here.
Let's do the Instagram first, and then I'll get to you TikTok, don't worry.
This person is going to visit their parents over Christmas.
I can read it. There we go. Miss Hannah says, staying with my parents over Christmas. Any tips introducing my 8-month-old Goldendoodle to my parents' Maltese cross? Staying for a few weeks. Just want to get them off to the best start. Well, is the Maltese friendly? Because that's a big one. An 8-month-old Goldendoodle. If it's a large size Goldendoodle, I can go ahead and tell you it may not be a good mix. So don't get disappointed if it's not. What I mean by that is sometimes large breed puppies, they're very pawsy and they will stomp that little Maltese without meaning to, being overzealous, intense, not having a strong enough no, not because you've done anything wrong. It might just be because they haven't been exposed to boundaries with smaller dogs. So I do want you to know that. Sometimes I come across a big dog that is very play submissive to small dogs. They'll just roll over and they'll just play bow and roll over, and they're so soft and so submissive. You can't make your dog be like that. It's very much a genetic thing. So what you have to do is just assess the energy level and the habits of your own dog and how the other dog's perceiving it, meaning the Maltese. Now, if you have a smaller doodle, you probably got a better chance at it working out well, like one of the medium-sized doodles, but it still might annoy the bejesus out of the Maltese. So this is what I want you to do. First, let's have them take a walk together. Even if your Goldendoodle is chomping at the bit to say hi to the Maltese, if the Maltese is like, whoa, that is a lot of energy, you just kind of strong arm, them a bit and just keep walking until the newness wears off. You can do some training if you want to, but it's really just about, I used to work in rescues and we'd have to get dogs that are a bit wild or a little kennel crazed and see how they do with a dog in the home. And that's what we would just walk them until they relax. Then when they relax, then they can sniff a little bit. Okay, so that way the doodle doesn't just invade the Maltese's space and overwhelm him. And then you walk into the house together, right? Have the dogs wait, invite them in, and then just kind of, if you feel comfortable, drop the leash, see what happens. Make sure your doodle is dragging a leash, maybe the whole time, unless you have great voice control in high stimulus situations. Here's the big thing that I need you to watch. Do not push that Maltese. It's so unfair. It's what we see all the time, and it just breaks families apart, honestly. It is different because you're visiting, but still, watch how the Maltese perceives your Goldendoodle, and that Maltese will tell you everything you need to know. Is the Maltese really playful, feeling comfortable? Then you can let some play ensue. Is the Maltese immediately like, whoa, that's a lot of energy. I'm gonna need a few days to get used to that. Well, then you are on leash with your Goldendoodle for a while, working on place and food work and letting the Maltese see you, redirect the Goldendoodle and train, and that the Goldendoodle's not crazy all the time, basically, before they even greet. This might be before they even say hello. Once they do say hello and they even interact a little bit, as soon as the Maltese seems stressed or overwhelmed, you need to intervene immediately. The dog needs to be dragging around a leash, the Goldendoodle. Maybe the Maltese too. Maybe the Maltese is a feisty little bugger. I don't know. You'll find out. But you need to be a presence in all of their interactions until until you feel crazy comfortable they can run around in the yard and play. Okay, so that's really what I want you to keep an eye on. And even if it goes beautifully and they're in the yard and they're running around, that Maltese is going to get tired, potentially get tired at some point of that Goldendoodle. Make sure you're there immediately to back up that Maltese. When maybe the Maltese gets a little bit hurt, maybe just gets overwhelmed and needs a breather, and the Goldendoodle energy just keeps pounding away at the Maltese. They don't read social cues very well a lot of times. That's what we've seen anyway. And so if that's the case, okay, that's enough. Walk in the middle of them immediately. If you're off leash at this point, have a leash on you, clip a leash to your dog and walk them back, or you already have the leash dragging and you pick up the leash. That's what's really, really important. Now let's say, maybe the Goldendoodle is a little nervous of the Maltese's I'm in charge energy. I mean, that could be the case too. It's the same scenario. It's the same scenario, just in reverse. Okay, is there any wait list to join training? So you can do our online training immediately. So you can go to thepuppyacademy.com, click on the online school, and you're good to go. As far as here at the actual facility, you're gonna have to go again to thepuppyacademy.com and fill out their form and send it in. I don't have that information. Sorry. Okay, what about TikTok? You wanna jump over? Thank you so much. You're welcome.
This person asked what your opinion is on sending your dog to a boot camp where they stay for 10 to 15 days.
Okay, ooh, this is a good question. Instagram, TikTok asked, how do I feel about someone sending their dog away to a boot camp for a certain amount of time? This one is specifically 10 days. There are different types of training out there, folks. There's sport dog training, there's obedience-focused training, which gets masked sometimes as manners, good manners and things like that, but it's not. It's just using obedience to try to control a dog. Then there is the type of training where you really focus on the brain, kind of like training between the ears, which we talk about occasionally, like really just focusing on the dog's brain. How are they feeling? How do I need to interrupt this, calm them down, whatever it might be, or some mixture of all those things. And there's other things too. There's play styles of rehab and stuff like that. I think it can really give you a level up with your dog very quickly. Like if you're financially able to do boot camps or training or whatever it might be, it can really be crazy helpful. However, here's the however. You're paying an expert to train your dog, but are you also getting training in return? This is my own personal feelings. Maybe I shouldn't even say them because they do change. I do change. My opinions change, but I can't imagine doing a board and train or a boot camp, even 1 week, without at least 2 lessons. And I provide you homework and make sure you're on the right track. I might do a Zoom and make sure the home is set up the way I need to, get you in the right mindset, but then train you on owner lesson 1 and 2. And then for the bigger ones, 4, 5, 6, owner lessons. Maybe not 6, let's say at least 4 to 5, okay? That is what I see missing in the industry, but I'll be honest. Again, this is my own personal experience. I have to say that because I'm sure there's great places out there that only do 1 lesson. I just don't know of any. Okay, I just don't know of any. I'm the one, me and Sparky too. Actually, we're the ones who get all the contact forms where people say, "I've already paid for a board and train. I've already paid for a boot camp," and we're still just really struggling. And when I find out why, and I'm like, well, the dog is actually not bad, but the owner's handling, no offense, is not great. You need lessons. You need to be trained how to do things. You can't just watch. You can't be given a trained dog and be able to, do all of those things. It does not work like that. So anyway, I hope that makes sense to you guys. Just make sure you do your due diligence on what are you getting on the back end? What kind of continued support? 10-day board and train is awfully short. It really seems like basic obedience. So you might not get a lot of ongoing help on the back end with a program like that, but you should get at least a couple of lessons, okay? All right, and someone just said joined. I'm guessing you mean the online school, Melanie. That would be awesome. Oh, someone else joined. Cool. Maybe I should shameless plug the online school more often. It was not a shameless plug, by the way. Someone asked me a question for the record. Okay. All right, guys, I am going to let you go with this one final thought. You know that we love to talk about affection all the time and how to integrate affection into your puppy's life without spoiling them rotten and ruining them, because that is what's causing so much anxiety in our culture of living with our dogs. Not enough leadership and guidance, not enough boundaries, rules, and limitations, and live. So I want to leave you with this. I would suggest that you really watch how your energy affects your dog. If your dog is constantly getting excited by the sight of you, and every time you say something, that's a problem. That means that their association with you is based off of excitement. Okay, that is a problem. Excitement's not the problem. It's the constant relationship. It's what you accidentally are representing most of the time. So there's that. There's the excitement component. And then I want you guys to think about this. I heard this from another trainer. I'm sorry, I don't know her name. I think her Instagram handle is like Pack Life or something. But she said something that I thought was beautiful. She said, when you touch your dog or your puppy, they should melt into it. That's the reaction you should get, is that they melt into it, rather than when you touch them and they get excited. You can start to cultivate this from the time they're a puppy with more calm, loving attention, massage, things like that. And so I want you all, with your dogs at home, when you go to pet them like you normally do they stay wiggly and the tail's going when you bend over? Or is the way that you're petting them causing them to melt into you? Something to think about, because it's two totally different parts of the brain. Do you want to represent excitement, or do you want to represent calm confidence? That's what you're really thinking about, okay? All right, guys, have a great week. I'll see you here next week, same time, same place. Bye. Awkward smile by myself.